Hey guys, and welcome to this first video in a series about the basics of operating FL Studio for music production. In this video, I'm just going to take you through a couple of quick things to get you oriented in the program and to help you get started with making your own tracks. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing that you want to do when you jump in here is just click down on File, New from Template, go to Minimal, and click Basic. And that's going to give you the same window that you're seeing here that I'm seeing right now. So the first window that's opened up right now is called the channel rack. And what you'll see in here is this is where we keep all of the samples and all the instruments that we're going to be using in our project. So right now there's a kick, a clap, a hat, and a snare. So if we open up this kick and click down here, you'll hear the sample that's in there right now. So let's say that we're not particularly fond of this sound and we want to replace it with something else. So FL Studio comes with some stock sounds, and you can go over here to packs, to drums, and go down to kicks, and you could pick out a kick. So let's say we like that 808 and we want that to replace. You can just left click, drag, and drop this into this setting, and now this kick has been replaced with that 808. So now we have our very first replaced sound. Let's say we also want to grab a cymbal. So let's come in here and let's just go ahead and just grab this one. Just drag it with left mouse click and drag it underneath of the samples that are already there, and it'll create a new track. But you're going to notice that there's something different about this particular track. These other tracks have numbers assigned to them, and this one doesn't. These numbers are actually mixer tracks that these are assigned to. So let's go ahead and assign it to the next one, which is 5. And let's go ahead and create a pattern, and then we'll open up the mixer window, and I'll show you how this works together. So to create a pattern, you basically just left click on each one of the ones that you want to map in. So let's go ahead and map in some snare drums. Let's map in some hats. So you can right click on this and just say fill in each 2 steps, and this will fill in things automatically for you. To get rid of something that you don't like, you right click on it, left click on things that you do want, and you can just work through that process really quickly. So we'll just kind of go through this basic process of building our first track. So let's go ahead and just listen to what we've made. In order to listen to it, we're going to press the space bar, or we're going to press this button here, which is the play button. So let's go ahead and do that and see what we've got so far. All right, so now let's open up the mixer track just to kind of look at where everything's at and how this is all working out. So if we open up the mixer track and we press the play, you'll see that everything is kind of coming through in these tracks and that represent that number that was assigned right here. So we're going to want more than drums, and we've created our first pattern. So let's go ahead and go into our second pattern, and let's add in a new instrument. And in FL Studio, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do that. And one of the ways is you can go over here to the plugin database, and you can go into the generators, or, let's say we're going to pick a synth. We could go in there. We come in here and say add, and there's a whole bunch of options there. And there's also this plus symbol down here, and you can go in and add something from there. So let's just pick this very simple synth called the 3X oscillator. And we're going to go ahead and start creating our new pattern. So if we were to do the same thing that we did on the drums and we did this, you'll notice something. It's just one note. And we don't necessarily want to create a synth pattern with just one note. We want more variety in there than that. We want to have melodies and chords and all kinds of other things that we can do. And the way that we can do this is actually to move this into the piano roll, which is another window inside of FL Studio. So if you right click on that channel and you click piano roll, it's going to bring up this window. And how you can bring up the window, shortcut key for that is F7, and it's also this button up here. So if you click F7, it'll bring into this window. So let's just go ahead and map in a very simple melody. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and listen to this melody that we just created. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's sounding like some Grammy material right there. So now we've created our second pattern, but right now we don't have this actually mapped into the mixer in any place. So let's go ahead and bring up the mixer window again. So again, we'll click this button, or we'll click F9, which is the shortcut key for it. If we go to this window, let's go to the next available track. So right now this is highlighted in green, and we're going to go over to this empty track. We're going to press Control and L. And the cool thing about that is that's going to map in the color, it's going to map in the title for it, and it's going to map that basically in for us automatically, whatever number we've selected here over here. So now when we play this pattern that we've just created, it's right here in the mixer. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn that down a little bit because it's obnoxiously loud. So the next thing that we're going to want to do, we've created a couple of patterns, and now we want to start putting those patterns together as a song, because generally you have to pull all these different pieces together to make a song. So how we do that is we're going to open up what they call the playlist window, and you do that by clicking F5, and that'll bring up this window. So F5 is your shortcut key for that one. It's also this button right here. So this is the playlist window. So right now we're looking at the patterns that are available in here, and there's also audio stuff and there's automation. We don't have any of that in this project, and we'll get into that in later series. We'll talk about things like mixing, we'll talk about things like recording audio and all those different kinds of things. So stay tuned for that. But the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna map in this drum pattern that we created. And then we're gonna go over here, select the second pattern, and we're gonna map in this other pattern. So now we wanna play this song. And in order to do that, we're actually going to have to get out of the pattern mode. So this button up here that's highlighted in orange right now lets you know whether you're in song mode or pattern mode. So when we click that and it goes to gray, we know that we're in song mode now. So it's now going to play what is in this playlist that we've put together. So let's go ahead and listen to what that is as it's been put together. I'm prepping my Grammy acceptance speech at this moment because I just feel like, I mean, that's the stuff right there. So now let's just go ahead and recap all the stuff that we just kind of covered. So we started out here with the channel rack window, which you can access with F6. That's the shortcut key. You can use this button. This is where we load all of our samples and all of our instruments that we're going to be using in a project. It's also somewhere where you can actually assign to mixer tracks, and you can then open up things like the piano roll, which is F7, so that you can map in MIDI notes and you can create your own song, create your own thing. And so we did that. And then the other thing that we looked at was the actual mixer, where we can route everything into it so that we have a song put together. We can adjust levels and make those things sound better together. And we can get into some more stuff later on about how to add in things like EQ and how to put in reverb and delay and all kinds of other things that can spice up your track. But right now we're just covering the basics of everything. So the last thing that we looked at was actually the playlist mode. And that's where we kind of put all the patterns together to actually make a song. And we did that by mapping those in with the paintbrush and then doing that. So now let's say that we want to actually put this track out to the world. We've decided that we've finished this thing. We've decided that we're gunning for the Grammy here. So let's go ahead and figure out how we go ahead and export that track. So let's say we're going to do it as an MP3 file. You come up here to File, you go to Export, and you would say MP3. And you can choose a whole bunch of different formats, but for right now, let's just keep it simple. Let's just go with MP3. And since this is a Grammy hit, we're going to call it Grammy Hit. And it's going to bring up this window for us, which just gives us all the different details about this song that we're getting ready to render. So right now, you can choose the mode, and we want to be in full song. There are times where you might just want to render out a pattern like a drum loop, or maybe a synth pattern, or maybe a sound effect, or something along those lines. And then the tail part is just if you have effects that are associated with the song or the sound or whatever you're working on, you may not want to cut it off right as the sample ends. You might want to add in the stuff that happens with the delay or the reverb, so it makes sure that it just leaves that extra effect in there for you. The next window part down here is basically covering the sample rate that you're going to be using, the bit rate. So it's more or less the quality of it. So you can go all the way up to 320 kilobytes per second, or you can stay down at 192. 192 is the default. We're just going to leave that alone for the moment. There's also quality, which are some extra things that you can do in here. And there's also some miscellaneous. We're just going to leave that as default for right now. And we're going to go ahead and click Start. And so now we have officially rendered our very first track. And now you've kind of seen the basics of how to maneuver around in FL Studio. You've seen how to put together different patterns, how to put them together in a playlist, how to export that, how to use a mixer function. Now you should be off to the races with just kind of getting started with the program. I think it's an amazing program. I love using it. I use it personally for all of my music. And I think it's just an incredible tool that you can have in your arsenal. So I'd love to continue to help you guys learn how to use this program. This is just the first in a series, and we'll go deeper as we get along. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, just go ahead and click subscribe below and click the alert button. You'll be notified when there's new videos that show up in the channel. I really appreciate you guys sticking around with me. Leave comments below if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. And let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover, that you want me to go into more detail about. And I'd be happy to do that. So guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time.